is Littlefoot Nursery, and I'm finally going to do the topic I alluded to on one of my recent videos about coming out of the doll closet. So what do we mean by that? I think all of you guys probably can understand that reference, but it's basically like how many people do people know about you and your hobby? Do people know that you collect reborns or collect silicones? Are you open with your hobby? Have you told your family and friends? Do your coworkers know? Do your do just your immediate family know? Does your extended family know? Like basically, like how public are you with your hobby? I thought it was a very interesting question. And, one of my kind of friends in the community sort of messaged me asking, if I had any advice for, I guess, kind of coming out of the closet and, kind of what to say or how to approach that. Because I think that, a lot of us really, really enjoy and love these babies. But, it's hard to feel a little bit isolated and feel like, there aren't, people close to you who share the same hobby or understand your love for these dolls. So anyway, and while I'm talking, I'm going to go ahead and change Clara into this little sleeper by Little Me. It's a little ballerina. And so I'm going to go ahead and change her because she's wearing her Cinderella dress. I had changed her into this dress for Halloween, thinking that I would go around and change a bunch of babies and do that for my Halloween video. And then I honestly just got a little lazy. So I ended up changing Clara and then stopping. So I'm going to change her out of this dress since it is no longer Halloween. Yeah, and I think that it's such an interesting question. So let me answer it for myself. I'll just kind of talk about my own experience and then I'll talk about just sort of general thoughts, tips, advice for you all as you think about kind of coming out of the closet with your hobby. So, okay, so a few things. So my caveat, I guess I would say is I wouldn't even say that I'm really out of the closet with my hobby. I am within the doll community, now that I'm on social media, with YouTube, and now that I have a doll account for Facebook, now that I'm painting dolls, and now that I've gone to the Rose Doll Show and met, lots of people there, and then also now that, I'm a more regular poster on Doll Fan, I guess I would say I'm sort of partially, I think there's different levels of being out of the closet, I guess I would say. There's, being out of the closet with regards to other collectors and the reborn community. Because I think there are a lot of collectors who watch YouTube videos, who read the forums, who collect and buy these babies, enjoy their babies in private, who rarely post or never post, on the forums. And they just like to read. They just like to know and they'd like to gather knowledge and they are content and happy to enjoy, these babies in the privacy and comfort of their own home. They may take them out for outings, or they may not, or, this just may be a huge secret of theirs. And, I think there are collectors who are like that. Nobody knows about the hobby, not even like the doll community. And obviously that's not me now, but that was me for many years. For many, many years, just my husband knew. It was just him and I don't even think my mom knew that, or my sisters knew that I collected these dolls. My dad's been passed away for a long time now. But, so yeah, it was really just my husband and I. And basically when I wasn't like playing with them, I had them in a Moses basket covered up in blankets in the closet. And I did collect American Girl as well. And those I was more open about. They were all about the house and things like that. But my reborns were in a Moses basket in the closet so that anyone coming over would not know at all that I collected these dolls. And back then I only had, I think, maybe 2 or 3 dolls at the time. So that was it. And I didn't have any, they were all reborns. And that was basically the extent of my collecting for many, many years. And then that really changed when So I got the portrait sculpts done of my daughter. So I brought home Emery May and Melina. Those are my two full body silicone girls, and the only two silicones in my collection for a really long time. And then, with my silicone babies, and then, with us going through construction, I ended up getting rid of the original Reborn. So I just had the two silicone baby girls up until when I rediscovered the hobby almost a year ago. It was really like last December, January that I kind of got back into Reborns in a big way. And I'm trying to think like why. Hang on a second, guys. All right, I'm back. I had to take a quick call for work. I was just about to say that in terms of getting back into Reborns, I started collecting. I started with Paradise Galleries again, and then I started acquiring Reborns, and then I bought Millie, my cloth body silicone, started adding other silicone babies. And I decided, sort of after getting back into collecting, you know what? I'm going to kind of at least come out of the doll closet, at least within the doll community, and start being a more active member on Doll Fan. So that was when I, wrote and sort of introduced myself on Doll Fan, shared about my story and how, Emery May and Melina were sculpted after my daughter, and talked a little bit about my journey in collecting, things like that. So I first started with Doll Fan, and then as I was purchasing babies, and purchasing, from Melissa George, for example, I decided to create a Facebook doll account, which is Lynn Doll Fan, in case you guys have, if in case you don't know that. And then I started deciding I wanted to learn to paint, and I was just like all in. I said, okay, I'm going to go to the Rose Doll Show. I wanted, and I started filming my box openings, not sure if I wanted to be on YouTube or not, but decided to take the plunge in the spring. And I'm so glad I did, because it's so much fun being more active part of the community. And I think it does feed and foster your love for the hobby to be more actively participating in it in more of a community. So obviously within the doll community, I'm extremely active now. I'm not on Instagram, you guys. I can't keep up with so many different outlets and venues, but I am on the Bountiful Baby Forum. I'm on Doll Fan. I'm on Facebook, and of course, I'm on YouTube. So that's within sort of the doll community. But when I talk about coming out of the doll closet, that's kind of one level. But the other level is really in terms of your own personal life. So when you're talking about your spouse, your parents, your siblings, your immediate, your children, your immediate family, your extended family, your closest friends, your friends from different circles. So people you might know at work, people you might know at school if you're in school, or people you might know just who are just close friends of yours. Ooh, so that one is trickier. I am definitely not out of the doll closet in that definition. You guys have probably seen I'm fairly protective, for example, with having my last name be out there, because my work, my coworkers, they don't know about my hobby. My boss doesn't know about my hobby. I don't know what they would think about it. I really have no idea. I do know that I have a very demanding job, and my company is pretty protective of my time, and not wanting me to be involved in. I think that I don't know how they would feel about a hobby like this. It being kind of an alternative hobby, like it's just not. It's not a mainstream hobby that everybody. It wouldn't be like saying, "Oh, hey, I play golf on the weekends. I play volleyball." Whatever. I collect stamps, things that might be perceived as being more socially acceptable. This is a hobby that is still a very niche hobby, and it generates really strong reactions, from people. I have found that it seems like there's not a lot of middle ground. People either seem to like love the dolls or they don't care for them. I think there are maybe a few who are in the middle who are like, okay, I'm not creeped out by them, but it's not my thing. I can see how, wow, I can definitely appreciate how incredible the art form is, but yeah, definitely not my thing. It's just kind of too real. So I think people can fall in a few different camps, and it can be scary to tell somebody about your hobby when you don't know which camp they're going to fall into. But there is a chance that there are probably some people who maybe fall in camp one, like, oh my gosh, I love these dolls, like I totally want one, but they wouldn't want to admit it. It's weird. It's like we're almost ashamed of the ashamed of our reborns, or in a way sometimes. So yeah, it's a really interesting dynamic for sure, because my coworkers don't know, and I definitely would keep it like that. I'm not intending to share my hobby with any of them. I guess if it were to come up that one of them collected dolls, I don't think any of them are even into regular dolls, for example. So I think even being a regular doll collector, even when I was collecting American Girl, a couple of my coworkers knew, just the couple who would like come over to my house knew, but most people don't know about that hobby. So they weren't aware of even my American Girl doll collection, but I think that would have been probably more socially acceptable than the reborns, unfortunately. Um, the reborns are becoming much more popular and much more well known, and I'm hoping that this is a hobby that, and by being on YouTube, I think I'm kind of doing my part in educating the average Joe out there who might have stumbled onto this hobby, might have just fallen in love and gotten fascinated with these babies, like a lot of us did, when we found out about the hobby. But like, yeah, it's an interesting thing. So that's kind of how I feel about my coworker group. My immediate family now knows. I'm trying to remember how I came out of the closet with my mom and my sisters. I think I had shown my mom a couple of my reborns once, and she was like, "Oh, okay." She just was super indifferent to them years ago, and so I never. But after I had the portrait sculpts made of Audrey, I showed them to her, and she was like, "Oh yeah, wow, really does look like her," and she thought it was cool, like the resemblance. And my husband, I think, has always been like not into the dolls, but he's very supportive of me and what I'm interested in, and so he even came to the doll show, bless his heart. But he, himself doesn't ever want to pick up or hold any of the babies. He doesn't really take an active interest in them. He will kind of, he is really supportive about the ones I paint, and he'll say, "Oh yeah, this one looks really good," and things like that. So that's really cool. Um, and my sisters, I showed them, one of my sisters, I showed her some pictures of ones I had painted, and she like didn't respond to our like group chat on WhatsApp, and then I kind of figured she might not like them, and she said, "Yeah, I'm sorry, I think they're a little creepy." I she was nice to allow me to gift a reborn. It was the Cheyenne baby that I painted to my niece. And so, I don't think she minds her so much, but she's not into the dolls herself. And then my other sister, thought it was just kind of like, wow, these are like amazing, but she's not into the dolls either. It's not really her thing. And then her husband, my brother-in-law, is just completely creeped out by dolls in general. Like when I showed him an American Girl doll, he was totally freaked out because the eyes open and close. And I don't know the reason why people get freaked out by that, but I think it's because of Chucky. That's what I've heard. So anyway, so my immediate family, nobody's into dolls. So, I think, it can be easy to feel lonely in this hobby. And I think that's why I decided to finally come onto the doll forums, come on YouTube, try to make some friends. And I'm so glad that I did that, even though it is sometimes a little scary to like put yourself out there. But I will say with my friends, there are a couple friends from some ladies I know from church who came over to my house once, and one of them, I decided to show her my doll collection, just the reborns. I didn't even show her my silicones who were in the closet, but I just showed her my reborns, and she was like, "Whoa, that looks so real." And she actually took out her phone, snapped a few pictures, but she didn't want to touch them because they just looked too real to her, and she was a little bit freaked out by that. Um, Here's Clara. Does she look cute? I love her in pink. So again, yet another friend who's not really that into them. I mentioned to one of my very close friends from college that I was learning to paint them, because I do think it's sometimes a little bit easier to come out of the closet when you're an artist, versus just a collector, unfortunately, because then you can kind of talk about, how it's really an art. Like you're taking a blank vinyl kit and creating something amazingly beautiful and realistic looking from a blank kit. So for me, it was easier to talk about, being an artist and painting, and kind of showing them some babies I painted. Like one of my friends who came down, she lives in Northern California, but she came down to LA, just to visit, and we had a meal. She asked me, "Oh, did you bring one of your babies?" And I hadn't brought like, yeah, I actually don't have one that's like just my own baby that I painted, which I need to remedy that. But my daughter had brought Megan with us, and so we showed her baby Megan, which was one that I painted, and she was like, "Wow," and she was so cute. She was actually holding it, pretending to burp it. So I actually think she would really love these dolls. If if she had one, I think she would totally get a kick out of it, and she wasn't afraid to hold it, which was really cool. And I think there's a respect about the art form, but that doesn't necessarily equal a love for the dolls. But I would say, so moving on to, kind of the second part of what I wanted to talk about. So my advice would be, just to decide, how public do you want to be with your hobby? Do you want to feel totally comfortable to just like let's say you're a couple and you don't have kids, and you don't know if you'll have kids in the future, and you'd love to have the experience of caring for a reborn as if it were a real baby. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just all for fun. And it's like, yes, we know the dolls are not real. People have these disclaimers on all their reborn videos because some people genuinely think that we think these dolls are real and think that we're crazy, which is completely absurd. Yes, we know the dolls are not real. um, but you should decide, like, do you just want to feel like, hey, I'm going to take this baby out, I'm going to do an outing, I'm going to take them in my car seat, take them to places, and experience, like, treat them like they're a real baby. That's totally up to you, and you're not hurting anyone. So it's up to you if you want to do that. I haven't done a lot of outings with my babies. I think I'm still a little bit shy about it. We have taken one, a couple times to Disneyland. So we've done a couple outings like that. We took one baby to Target, but we don't do it a whole lot, mainly because it does attract attention for sure. And you have to be prepared to, kind of field questions. And so, but I think if you're just matter of fact and you just kind of educate people, like if they say, "Oh, is that a real baby?" And, you can kind of decide, first of all, how you want to handle that. You could either say, "Okay, you know what? I'm going to take them out and I'm going to totally, today they're a real baby, and I'm not going to volunteer that they're a doll." That's totally up to you. And you can just say, if they're like, "Oh, your baby's beautiful," you don't have to say, "Oh, it's not a real baby, it's a doll." You can if you want, but you can also just say, "Oh, thank you." You could just, you're just make believe, playing pretend. I think for me, if someone were to ask me point blank, "Hey, is that a real baby or is that a doll?" I would definitely tell them the truth. I'm actually more in the category of like, "Hey, it's a doll." But when we were at Disneyland, nobody asked us anything when I had baby Natalie with us, and I did have her kind of wrapped in a blanket. But a lot of people did stare at her. They were kind of like wondering, but nobody said anything. So I just sort of played it like she was a real baby. Like when we went on rides, we're a family of four, I would say five. So, um, I, and I just, you just, if you're convincing about it, no one will question you. Um, but I do, so that for me was just more like fun. But if somebody said, "Oh, is that a real baby or is that a doll?" For me personally, I would totally tell them, "No, it's a doll." And you can just educate them and just tell them, yeah, reborns are, they're, it's a collectible piece of art. These are dolls that are, and I kind of sometimes, like when we were going through airport security, I found myself explaining, you buy, they're painted from a blank vinyl kit, and then the hair is rooted. They're really created to be as realistic as possible. The body is, the baby is weighted, to really give you the feeling that you have a real baby. And then, there are vinyl reborns. There are also silicone babies that are kind of softer and squishier. There are full body silicones. There's cloth body silicones. Usually you don't end up getting into that whole discussion with everybody right off the bat. But the idea is, these are very realistic babies. They are handcrafted pieces of art. They're very valuable. So, I should have done that when going through security, just to let them know, please handle with care and please be very gentle. Um, the the TSA was very gentle with Clara, but not very gentle with Sabrina. And Clara definitely looks more realistic than Sabrina, so I don't know if they were thinking, she's just a doll, whatever. But yeah, it was really, that was terrible. So, um, but yeah, I think it's just educating people about the hobby. There are a number of artists on the Bountiful Baby Forum who have talked about taking, like, let's say they just finished painting a doll, taking that baby out, and then they have gotten a lot of sales that way. Like, some people will be like, "Oh my gosh, that's amazing! I want to buy that baby." Like they want to buy it right off, right then and there, and so they've gotten some sales that way, which is cool. So, so I think there's a lot of benefits to being more public with your hobby. I just think for me, like, at least within the doll community, it's really nice to have a place I can go where I know that there are people out there who share my love for these amazing babies, and I can come on and watch videos, and we can discuss different topics. We can see our babies, dressed in different things. We can see what other people like to do with their babies, like role play, outings, things like that. And so I personally am so happy to have found this community. And there are friends I met at the doll show. There are friends I've, kind of made through Doll Fan, things like that. So it's really, really cool. I think in my own personal life, I don't know that I have, that, I don't know if I'll have a, friend in my kind of natural friendship circle who would get into these babies as much as me. I really hope so. But, I'll never find out if I keep it all to myself. So I do want to get a little bit braver with just some of my girlfriends and sharing with them a little bit about my hobby. And, I have a cousin who I think, struggles with, a number of different things. And, she's gone through a hard time. I don't know if she would like dolls or like a baby like this. But I've thought about maybe sharing the hobby with her. But yeah, I mean, I just think it's something. But I am most days just very content to, just kind of enjoy the babies in the privacy of my own home and talk to you all and participate in the community that way. So anyway, I'd love to hear your comments. Are you in the doll closet? Are you out of the doll closet? How did you come out of the doll closet? Or make this if you want to do this as a tag, I would love to hear your thoughts on this. So thank you so much as always for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, and I hope you guys have a fantastic day. Bye.